Lewis Hamilton walks away from Ferrari after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Could he really make a shocking return to Mercedes? Stay tuned until the very end, because what I'm about to reveal might just change everything you thought you knew. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. After the turbulent and mentally exhausting weekend in Baku, where emotions ran high and frustration seemed to seep through every corridor of the Ferrari garage, Lewis Hamilton has made a decision that few in the paddock expected to come so soon. The atmosphere in Azerbaijan was already poisoned with doubt and disappointment, and when the dust finally settled after a race that had drained everyone involved, Hamilton quietly arranged a meeting that would send shockwaves across the entire Formula One world. Away from the cameras, in a closed room far removed from the media frenzy, the seven-time world champion confronted Ferrari's team principal Frédéric Vasseur in what has been described by insiders as a brutally tense, almost suffocating encounter. In that moment, Hamilton spoke with an icy calm that only masked the storm brewing underneath, telling Vasseur directly, without hesitation, that he had reached the end of the road with Ferrari and that their partnership, born with so much hype and promise, was now broken beyond repair. For Hamilton, a man who had been unveiled not long ago as the centerpiece of Ferrari's bold new project, this was more than a professional decision. It was a personal admission that the dream he once embraced had turned into a nightmare. To the outside world, Ferrari had promised a renaissance with Hamilton leading the charge, the legendary name of Maranello finally pairing with a driver who symbolized resilience, speed, and the pursuit of history. But behind the glamorous press releases, the reality was harsh and unforgiving. From the very beginning, cracks had appeared, disagreements over strategy calls, endless frustrations with the car's limitations, and a constant battle with the culture inside the team that never seemed to align with Hamilton's expectations. The man who had been recruited to inspire unity and elevate Ferrari to glory found himself instead entangled in politics, contradictions, and decisions that eroded his trust little by little. Vasseur, who had staked his reputation and fought relentlessly to lure Hamilton away from Mercedes and into the scarlet overalls, listened in shock as the words cut through the silence. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. Those who have been briefed on the meeting describe the team boss sitting rigidly, his jaw clenched, his hands pressing together so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His vision of Hamilton as the savior of Ferrari, the missing piece in a puzzle that had tormented the team for years, was collapsing in front of him. For Vasseur, this was not simply about losing a driver, it was about watching the core of his ambitious plan fall apart. The atmosphere in the room was described as one of suffocation, with long silences amplifying the weight of every word, each sentence from Hamilton hitting like a sharp blow. Hamilton, in his calm yet unforgiving tone, detailed the frustrations that had piled up since his arrival. He spoke of the endless compromises he was forced to accept, the bitter taste of seeing potential victories slip away because of questionable decisions, the arguments that seemed to repeat after every race weekend without resolution, and the absence of a clear direction that could restore his belief in the team. What he had hoped would be a marriage of passion and performance had instead become a draining cycle of disappointment, a struggle against forces inside Ferrari that he could not control. Instead of leading a revival, he felt shackled by limitations, constantly fighting battles that took more energy than the racing itself. Those close to Ferrari say Vasseur's silence during Hamilton's words was louder than any argument he could have made. The man who had dreamed of placing Hamilton's name alongside Schumacher's in Ferrari history books was instead staring at the reality of a partnership unraveling in record time. The betrayal he felt was not just professional, it was personal. To him, Hamilton had been more than a signing. He had been a symbol of hope, the figure who could erase years of near misses and heartbreak. But hope had transformed into despair, and the supposed golden era had crumbled before it could even begin. What makes this moment even more dramatic is the sheer contrast between expectation and reality. Just months ago, the world had witnessed the grand spectacle of Hamilton donning Ferrari red, a move celebrated as the start of a fairy tale. Fans believed that history was about to be rewritten, that Ferrari had finally secured the driver who could end its long drought and return the prancing horse to its rightful throne. But in the cold reality behind closed doors, the fairy tale has dissolved into disillusionment, leaving only frustration and the bitter acknowledgement that the alliance was never destined to work. Hamilton's announcement to walk away is not just a decision, it is a seismic event that exposes the fragility of even the most glamorous unions in Formula One. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. The paddock will feel the tremors of this revelation for months to come, with speculation already building about where Hamilton will go next, and what Ferrari will do in the aftermath of losing the man they once considered their ultimate weapon. For Hamilton, the decision reflects a man unwilling to waste the final years of his career locked in battles he cannot win. unwilling to settle for mediocrity when he has spent his life chasing greatness. For Ferrari, it marks yet another painful chapter in a saga defined by unfulfilled promises and shattered dreams. And for the world of Formula One, it serves as a stark reminder that even the biggest names and the most powerful teams are not immune to collapse when trust, belief, and results fail to align. What makes this entire drama so much more gripping is the way Toto Wolff has moved with breathtaking speed and precision, as if he had been waiting for this very moment. The man who has been the architect of Mercedes' dominance for nearly a decade, the strategist who turned the Silver Arrows into the most formidable dynasty the sport has ever seen, wasted no time when the first whispers of that clandestine meeting in Baku reached his ears. Almost instinctively, as if guided by something deeper than business, Wolff reached for the phone and dialed Hamilton directly. What followed was not a cold, calculated negotiation but a conversation described by those close to the situation as warm, almost nostalgic, and deeply emotional. It was as though years of shared triumphs, heartbreaks, and history came rushing back in that single exchange. The door that many thought had been slammed shut forever, the door Hamilton himself had closed when he traded Mercedes silver for Ferrari's iconic red, suddenly creaked open again with Wolff gently pushing it wider. In that call, Wolff is said to have told Hamilton that Mercedes was not just willing but eager to bring him home, that the team still believes there is unfinished business left between them, that the journey they started together was not supposed to end the way it did. He reminded Hamilton that Mercedes had been the stage for his greatest glories, the place where he etched his name into the record books, the place where he became more than just a driver, he became a legend. Wolff made it clear, Brackley will always be his true home, the Silver Arrows will always be his car, and the bond they built can never truly be severed. Just the thought of Hamilton once again stepping into the garage, sliding back into the cockpit clad in silver overalls, and taking to the track with that burning hunger for an unprecedented 8th World Championship sends electricity through the veins of the entire paddock. The idea of a Hamilton-Mercedes reunion under Wolff's guidance is the kind of storyline that transcends sport, a narrative that feels almost cinematic, destined to define an era. But while Mercedes and Hamilton quietly explore what could be the most dramatic comeback in Formula One history, the mood in Maranello could not be darker. For Ferrari, the fallout from this seismic twist borders on catastrophic. The team that only months ago basked in the global spotlight, proudly unveiling Hamilton as their savior, the man who was supposed to restore Ferrari to its rightful throne, is now bracing itself for humiliation unlike any it has faced in modern times. The communications department has been working through the night, preparing the official announcement that will land like a bombshell at dawn. Lewis Hamilton is leaving Ferrari. The timing is brutal, the optics devastating. The tifosi, who only recently flooded social media with red flags and declarations of faith, will wake up to disbelief, anger, and heartbreak. What was once celebrated as the boldest coup in recent Formula One history will be remembered as a disastrous miscalculation, a marriage that collapsed before it even had a chance to begin. For Frédéric Vasseur, the man Ferrari entrusted with steering the Scuderia into a new golden age, the consequences are nothing short of devastating. He is not merely losing a driver, he is watching his credibility disintegrate in real time. Hamilton's exit strips him of the faith of the tifosi, the trust of Ferrari's board, and the authority he had been carefully building within the team. Instead of being remembered as the leader who brought Hamilton to Maranello, he may now be forever associated with the fiasco of losing him almost immediately. The sting of this failure will be nearly unbearable, a scar that could define his tenure at Ferrari. As dawn approaches, the sport stands on the edge of chaos, the headlines already being drafted, the speculation already spinning out of control. Formula One has always thrived on drama, but this is not just another rumor. It is a story that has the power to shake the foundations of the grid, to rewrite allegiances, and to remind the world that in this sport, loyalty is fragile, glory is fleeting, and nothing is ever truly settled. The entire scenario surrounding Lewis Hamilton right now feels like something pulled straight out of a Hollywood script, yet it is unfolding in real life in the most dramatic and emotionally charged way possible. After years of chasing what seemed like a fairy tale ending with Ferrari, the reality has been far more devastating than anyone could have predicted. His arrival in Maranello was supposed to mark the rebirth of the prancing horse, a resurgence of glory that would see Hamilton not only cement his legendary status but also write himself into the history of the most iconic team the sport has ever known. Instead, the dream has crumbled into fragments, leaving behind scars that will likely never fully heal. The failures on track, the visible cracks in Ferrari's structure, and the internal battles that sapped energy from his mission to deliver success have left Hamilton emotionally wounded yet paradoxically even more determined. What was once painted as a glorious partnership ended in a bitter heartbreak that revealed the fragility of even the most prestigious institution in Formula One. And yet, from the ashes of this collapse, a new chapter begins to flicker into existence, one that feels almost too poetic to be real. Whispers of a Hamilton reunion with Mercedes have ignited the imagination of fans and pundits alike, stirring memories of a golden era where dominance felt inevitable and every race was a masterclass in precision, hunger, and defiance. Mercedes was not just a team for Hamilton, it was his empire, the stage upon which he carved out 6 of his 7 world championships, a place that became synonymous with his greatness. To return there now, after the torment of his Ferrari chapter, would not simply be about racing, it would be about redemption, resurgence, and rewriting a narrative that many thought had already been concluded. The sheer prospect of Hamilton walking back into Brackley, scarred but unbroken, hungry yet wiser, is the type of storyline that transcends sport and becomes a cultural moment, a saga of resilience and unrelenting ambition. Hamilton's hunger has never diminished, even through the darkest days in red. If anything, the pain of falling short has sharpened his edge, fueling a desire not merely to win but to prove that even in the face of adversity, he remains a force capable of bending the sport to his will. That hunger, paired with Mercedes' unparalleled capacity for reinvention, forms a combination that feels almost unstoppable. Mercedes has endured its own trials in recent seasons, struggling against Red Bull's dominance. But beneath the surface, the team remains as resilient as ever, a machine capable of adapting, innovating, and reclaiming the summit of Formula One. For Hamilton to rejoin them would mean aligning his unshakable willpower with the collective determination of a team that refuses to be broken, creating a fusion of man and machine that could tilt the balance of power back in their favor. This is not merely about trophies or statistics anymore, it is about legacy, pride, and the defiance of time itself. Hamilton knows that he does not have endless seasons left to compete at the highest level, which makes every decision, every race, every comeback attempt, feel all the more monumental. His journey has already been filled with triumphs, controversies, heartbreaks, and comebacks, but what lies ahead could eclipse it all. If he manages to return to Mercedes and spearhead a revival that dethrones Red Bull, he will not only redeem his recent struggles but elevate his legend into something untouchable, a narrative of redemption that no sporting scriptwriter could craft more perfectly. The stakes are colossal, the emotions are raw, and the anticipation is electric. Every fan watching this saga unfold understands that this is more than just Formula One. It is a story of human resilience, of a champion scarred by disappointment but unwilling to let his final chapter be written in failure. The idea of Hamilton stepping back into the silver colors, eyes burning with determination, carries a sense of inevitability and yet unpredictability that grips the imagination. It is the kind of moment that could reignite the sport, galvanize fans across generations, and remind the world why Lewis Hamilton is not just a driver but a phenomenon, a force of nature whose story continues to evolve in ways that keep everyone on edge, waiting for the next breathtaking twist. The hours ahead feel like the edge of a storm, a moment when time seems to hold its breath before unleashing a tidal wave that will reshape the landscape of Formula One. Around the globe, fans, pundits, and rivals alike are fixated on a single question: will Ferrari finally speak? Will the confirmation come? And will the red tide that once promised glory for Lewis Hamilton now become the symbol of disappointment and disillusion? The Tifosi, whose devotion borders on religion, sense the weight of betrayal pressing on their hearts, as the dream they once carried with so much pride now trembles on the edge of collapse. In garages, boardrooms, and living rooms, conversations spiral into heated debates, predictions, and desperate hopes, because everyone knows what is about to be decided is not just a contract, not just a career move, but a seismic shift in the history of the sport itself. Somewhere in the shadows, Toto Wolff watches it all unfold with the calm precision of a chess grandmaster. His silence is not weakness but strategy, his faint smile not arrogance but a signal that he is already 3 steps ahead, prepared to extend a hand to Hamilton in the very moment the Italian dream implodes. To the outside world, he is a team principal, a businessman, a leader of men. But in this particular play, he becomes something more, the potential savior, the man who can offer Hamilton the stability, the speed, and the machinery that could allow him to finally transcend from legend to immortal. His role is not one of bystander but of patient architect, waiting for the precise second when the entire board clears and only he remains as the logical, inevitable path forward. For Hamilton, the story was supposed to be different. When he signed with Ferrari, the headlines wrote themselves: "The Knight in Red, the final masterpiece in a career that already glittered with triumphs." It was meant to be a marriage of passion and performance, the greatest driver of his generation joining the most iconic name in motorsport. But instead of harmony, he found himself trapped in a labyrinth of politics, technical frustrations, and promises that dissolved like smoke the moment the visor came down and the lights went out on race day. What was painted as a glorious chapter has turned into a painful lesson, a cautionary tale that whispers to every young driver that even the brightest dreams can corrode under the pressure of reality. And yet, in the ashes of disappointment lies the spark of rebirth. For Hamilton, this is not the end. It is the dramatic twist in a saga that refuses to be predictable. Far from closing the book, this moment tears open new pages filled with intrigue, redemption, and the possibility of triumph on his own terms. What many perceive as downfall may actually be the very liberation he needs. The rupture that allows him to rediscover who he truly is, not the driver confined by legacy or expectation, but the relentless competitor chasing destiny with fire in his eyes. The allure of the eighth crown looms larger than ever, almost mythical now, shimmering like a horizon just beyond reach. To win it with Ferrari would have been romantic, yes, but to reclaim it with the team that raised him, the team that still feels like family, would etch his name in history with ink that can never fade. The possibility that Mercedes may once again cradle his ambitions, that Toto Wolff may once again become the steady hand on his shoulder, transforms what could have been tragedy into a second chance at immortality. Every second that passes intensifies the suspense. Fans refresh their screens, journalists sharpen their pens, rival teams tighten their strategies, and the sport itself vibrates with anticipation, because what is about to be revealed will ripple across the entire paddock. This is not merely about a driver choosing a car, it is about legacy, power, loyalty, and the eternal pursuit of greatness. The next hours will not just decide where Hamilton drives, they will decide how the story of Formula One itself is remembered for generations to come.